since you can predict that behavior better, you know exactly how to bid better. And if you can bid right all the time, if you could always bid perfectly in PPC, you would never lose money, because it's just like in real estate. If you only buy properties for some fraction of what they're worth, it's going to be really, really hard to lose money in real estate.
All right, guys, listen, the old way of marketing real estate, cold calling, mailers, door knocking, absolutely dead. Listen, when motivated sellers are actively searching online right now. So listen, what if I told you that there's a predictable, scalable machine that you can put out there that puts you in front of sellers before your competition, before they even get in the car? So today we are unlocking the exact PPC and inbound marketing strategies and framework that some of the top acquisitions teams on the planet are using to 100% dominate in their markets, from landing page conversion secrets to bidding strategies that crush wasted ad spend, because nobody wants to be out there wasting money, and get you to the closing loop on the acquisitions process so that those leads, they turn into signed contracts. Listen, this is not theory. This is proven execution, because if you're still guessing with your inbound traffic, you are leaving deals and profits on the table. Guys, welcome to the Closers Club, where real investors come to build real businesses and close real deals. Our goal here is to provide up-to-date tactical knowledge from the very best in the industry. Let's jump right in. So, guys, today, so happy to have my good friend Brandon Bateman on. He is joining us. Brandon, thank you for coming on the show. Right now, you lead the Bateman Collective, a data-driven, just digital marketing powerhouse, serving, honestly, some of the biggest investors all across the country and even beyond, outside the US, but helping them, and their acquisitions teams really leverage PPC, SEO, and conversion to optimize, to make sure that every seller lead can come in and that we're able to get them closed. You guys have managed millions of dollars in ad spends. It's just absolutely amazing. So super excited to have you here. But let's jump right in. I know everybody here wants to dominate their markets, but let's be real. Most of the investors out there, right, they're still treating PPC like it's a lottery ticket, right? They're just throwing money out there, and Google and Facebook will eat it all up, hoping that those leads come in, and then they get frustrated when things don't start coming in the way that they thought. So what is the biggest mistake that you see investors make with inbound PPC marketing, and how should they rethink that strategy to actually get consistent deal flow?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, David, for having me here. This is a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I'm always excited to talk to you. So the biggest mistake, there's a bunch of them. I want to start with just one
Okay.
to be a little bit specific. And look, it happens all the time. Like, for example, we have clients reaching out to us to say, like, oh, I got this lead and this lead wasn't good, but I paid
Yeah.
for this lead, right? So they recognize, like, that is a problem, that I paid this much money for this lead that I got,
Sure.
which wasn't good. And that kind of thing's really obvious to people, because oftentimes with marketing, we're viewing it kind of like we're paying per lead. And a lot of people view PPC as kind of similar to pay per lead, but it's not, right? It's pay per click marketing. So
Yeah.
the crazy thing that a lot of people don't realize about PPC is the biggest waste of money that exists in the channel is not the leads you get that aren't good. It's the money you spend on the clicks that never even turn to leads in the first place, of which
Right.
there's way, way, way more of those than there
Mm.
are clicks that actually turn to leads.
Yeah.
Are on average about 17.5% of clicks will turn into leads. And
I
then
think
that
that's right.
other,
Yeah.
that other 82.5%, that
Mhm.
other 82.5%, it doesn't become leads at all. So
Right.
one of the biggest mistakes that I think people make, and this comes from agencies, because agencies are saying, you know what, we're good at PPC marketing, right? So they just focus a lot on the PPC side, and what they do is they either ignore the side of conversion on landing pages and just let the client do it, right? They just take whatever your website is, whether it's good, whether it's bad, maybe make a few tweaks to it, and then they run it.
Yeah.
Or what they do is they manage the landing pages themselves, but it very much turns into like, oh, we have this landing page that we know works well,
Yeah.
but they don't focus on really getting every bit of conversion that you can out of landing pages. And there's a lot of different things that you can do to maximize that. I know one thing that you've mentioned is like load speed on your landing
Right.
page. That's an important thing, right? If your landing page has to load really, really quickly.
Mhm.
Other things are like this industry tends to approach it a little bit too much based on best practice, and they just say like, oh, a good landing page does X, Y, and Z, so they do X, Y, and Z on the landing page, but they're not testing it. And
Mm,
it's crazy. I've got this guy on my team who used to lead a CRO department for a big agency.
yeah.
Their clients were spending like $5,000 to $15,000 a month to pay this agency to have this team that would go onto landing pages,
Mm.
and they would say, well, yes, the landing page works well, but we hypothesize if we would change this one thing about the landing page, that it might
Right.
work better. And then they would do that. And whichever side works better, keep it. Whatever side
Mm.
works worse, throw it in the trash can. And then you do it again. And then you do it again.
Right.
And then you do it again. Right. And that whole concept, it's called CRO, conversion rate optimization. It's an entire field
Okay.
in digital marketing that is literally
Really?
ignored in this
Mhm.
entire industry. Nobody does it. Why does nobody do it? I don't know. But that's, in my opinion, the biggest opportunity for a lot of people with PPC in this industry,
Mhm.
because we run too much on gut feel. We run too much on thinking, oh, that landing page looks good. The agency
Right.
runs too much focused on just managing all the ads and stuff like that, but they don't focus on actually getting the landing page conversion as high as they can. And they don't realize that, like, when we do these kinds of landing page tests, which this is, by the way, something that we do for every client,
Mhm.
it's like it's about 50-50. If my guess for which landing page is
Really?
going to be better is the one that actually works better. Weird stuff
Really?
happens all
Yeah.
the time.
I think that's fantastic that you guys clearly, millions, probably tens of millions of dollars in ad spend, but that you, for your clients, you go that extra step and go, well, what's the next most logical place where things could break? And I've heard that for a couple of years, in some of the high level masterminds that we all pay $50,000 a year to be in. But yeah, if it takes too long to load, so they just go back and they go to the next ad or the next, whatever it is, link or whatever it is, no matter whether it's PPC or something else, right? We have, especially the last couple of years with Instagram and TikTok, it's the worst. We have the attention span of a
Mhm.
freaking gnat, and people want just such instant gratification that makes perfect sense. And I think it's crazy that people aren't doing it. And yeah, I think the last thing you said there is right. Too many people operate off their feelings. And I really like this in the picture that it has of me and my dog. But I don't know, man, does that convert? Right. And that's a question as business owners, we always have to ask ourselves, like, is the thing that we think is going to work, does it actually work? You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
most landing pages don't convert. Like, I think they confuse and they just slow the process down. So other than speed, what are some of the other, maybe the other top two mistakes that you see investors making with their landing pages?
So I'll tell you one that's really simple is
Mhm.
they use the same landing page for everything. And
Hmm.
the reality is some investors are different from other investors. Just picture it like this. Let's just say somebody searches on Google, they search a particular thing, and then they click on our ad about that particular thing. Think, what
Mhm.
do we know about this person at this point? The only things we know are, number one, they're interested in whatever they searched for. And number
Mhm.
two, there was something in our ad that was interesting to them. So, best practice for PPC is that we need to now have a landing page that includes both of those elements in it. It
Hmm.
has to be personalized to what they searched for, and it has to be really similar to the ad they clicked on. So, like, if we have a headline that was in the ad, we're really likely to have almost the same headline on the landing page because we want it to feel like a very, very congruent kind of
Mm.
experience. If
Yeah.
you
That same
nail
messaging
that,
has to go all the way through.
yeah, if you nail that, and we notice even if you say the same thing but with different words, it
Yeah.
converts worse. Because
Hmm.
how often have you clicked on an ad and you get to the landing page and you say, "Oh, actually, that's not what I was looking for." And
Yeah.
you have to
Bait and
picture
switch.
everybody. Yeah, you have to picture everybody searching online like it's drunk and it's 2 a.m. because they just don't put as much thought as marketers and as business owners. We like to think that they're like thinking things through
Right.
consistently, but people roaming on the internet are not thinking very hard, right? So you have to make it just so abundantly clear to them that this
Mhm.
is exactly what they were looking for, like down to a T, and
Mhm.
speak to the specific things that they care about. And you'll find that you'll actually convert better. And why don't people do it? It's because it's hard. Like we write a different landing page for every single ad in our account.
Really?
And we have more than 45 ads in the account.
Mm.
So you generally, so it takes some time, it takes some
Yeah.
effort, and then going to the level of then not just having that, but then split testing those things against each other is again
Right.
another level to get to. But I'd say that's the biggest one that people ignore is they just send all their traffic to their homepage, or they just
Yeah.
send it all to one landing page, and they just focus on like talking to someone one day and saying, well, what would make that landing page better? But they're not focused on that continual
Mhm.
iterative testing to make the landing page better. That's how you actually get
Clever.
really, really good performance because they don't understand what it's worth. Like, let me just give you some simple numbers. Let's just say you are spending $10,000 a month on PPC,
Mhm.
and you have let's just say you could have a 5x return with a 10% conversion rate on your site, which I know is low, but we'll use round numbers here. Let's just say hypothetically it's going to be 10%
Mhm.
or it's going to be 9%. So we're talking
Yeah.
about a 1% difference in landing page conversion rate. If you're going to be at
Yeah.
a 5x on 10%, you're doing $50,000 a month in revenue. At 9%, that $50,000 a month in revenue becomes $45,000 a month in
Right.
revenue,
Big number.
right? So how many people, when they see on their P&L a $5,000 monthly expense, are quick to say, is that worth it or is it not?
Right. Right.
But how many people notice when their landing page conversion rate is 9% when it easily could be 10% if
Mhm.
they just did a single split test to improve it, right? What does that cost you? That costs you $5,000 a month, right?
I
How much do
know.
agencies cost to manage this stuff? Like less than that.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing,
But
right?
Brandon,
So
we're entrepreneurs and our brains don't we work, we have lizard brains and we're in such rapid mode. We just want something to work
yeah,
today. I don't want to split test. It breaks my heart to have to slow down and have to split test one thing at a time. I know because I tell my website guys the same thing.
yeah. So it's a hard game, but like I think the reality is that if missed revenue showed up on the P&L,
Yeah.
then we would run our businesses completely differently, right?
Yeah.
And we would recognize like it's okay. That's the cost of converting 1% less on my landing page is $5,000 a month.
Mhm.
We're willing to spend some money to fix that problem. We're willing to spend some time to fix that problem because it's a real cost to us. It's
I
just
agree.
it's just that's all it is. It's just treating it like that
Yeah.
and understanding that the smallest improvements in PPC performance make it well worth it. Which is why a lot of people they eventually realize that it's worth working with like a really quality agency
Right.
instead of just the cheap agency. Because the
Mhm.
quality agency generally does better work than the cheaper one. When has it not been true that you get what you pay for? And just slightly better quality work
Yeah.
actually more than pays for it, and that's what makes the difference.
Yeah, and I love that you guys will go above and beyond and and again are just looking at it beyond. I'm just going to send you a bunch of leads and that's what you asked me to do and we're going to do that and best of luck. If you can't convert, you suck, right? So let's pull back into the PPC just a little bit. First off, I think if you're running PPC yourself, you're crazy. Like unless you really have an aptitude and you love this stuff, it's terrible. I tried to do it. I've told this story a million times. My friend Corey, I was in Phoenix and he's sitting next to me, this very laptop, and he's showing me on his laptop how to do it. And 5 minutes in, I knew there was zero fucking chance that I was going to go home and set up a PPC campaign and immediately had to, beg somebody else to run that for me. But, and I don't understand a lot of it. So some of these questions are going to sound like they're coming from a third grader, but there's bidding, right? And maybe you can explain what that actually means. But, a lot of investors are not bidding correctly and that's costing them a lot of money. So, like how should investors really think about that the bidding in the PPC world and Google and all of that? And, what separates kind of give us a couple of tips. What separates someone doing a really smart campaign from a money pit? And I know you guys run smart campaigns, but God forbid there's somebody out there that's trying to wing this on their own.
Yeah. I'd say I'm with you. I think some people, like probably less than 1% of real estate investors, could and should run their own PPC. Those people are out there. Don't get me wrong. Like they exist, but
Yeah.
it's not most people, right?
Right.
And people ask me all the time, they're like, why don't you just run a real estate investment business? You already got it figured out. It's like, no, I have a skill that allows me to basically save an average of $2,500 a month that I would have to pay to an agency. And
Yeah.
outside of that, I have zero advantage in the real estate investing
Yeah, we all have
game.
a different
you know?
skill. I
Yeah.
I tell people like real estate's like being a doctor. You be the eye doctor, the ear doctor, the nose doctor, the butt
Yeah.
doctor, the toe doctor, whatever, right? Like we all are really amazing at the spot we're in. And then we surround ourselves with absolutely the best in the industry, the best PPC, the best transaction coordinators, the best property manager, whatever it is,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I think the easiest way for me to explain bidding to you is to compare to something you know really well, which is real estate. So let's just say I want to be a wholesaler. What's the best way for me to wholesale? Um, Option one, I can say, well, the way that wholesalers make money, like if you can sell stuff to your buyers for really high prices, then you make lots of money. So let me just find like all the most valuable properties and try to put them under contract, right?
Yeah.
That's option number one.
Mhm.
Option number two is to say, well, the way that wholesalers make money is they find a way to buy properties that are really cheap. And that's how they make money, right? So I could just say, oh, just go buy all the cheapest properties.
Mhm.
Are either of those strategies going to make you money as a wholesaler? The answer, probably not, right? In the first case, you're going to put under contract a bunch of $5 million properties. And in the
Right.
second case, you're going to like put under contract the thing that you got under contract for 20 grand, but it's worth like 2 grand, right? And that's not how
I've
you
done
make
both
money.
of those things, by the way. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
invented
yeah,
it, so
I'm
to speak.
sure. Exactly. So in real estate, we understand that it's not about the value of the property or about the price of the property. It's about that discrepancy between the
Mhm.
value of the property
Sure.
and the price. That's what's called a discount, right?
Mm.
You need to find properties not that are high value or that are low cost, but that are undervalued. And
Mhm.
that's basically the game of wholesaling, is you're finding undervalued properties. So if we apply that to PPC, a lot of people are doing the bad real estate strategy in PPC. And
Mm.
I'll give you the two examples. Example number one is really common for people self-managing accounts in real estate investment space. They say, what are the best keywords? I just want to know what the best ones are. And I
I
just
only
want to
want
target those.
I only want to get up to the plate and hit grand slams. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna pay like whatever it takes. There's no such thing as too expensive. And I'm just gonna bid on all the best stuff. And
Right.
that's like just going in and saying every house over $5 million on the market, I'm just gonna buy it because those are the good ones, you know?
Yeah.
Good investment strategy? Probably not.
Yeah.
On the other hand, this is what a lot of agencies do is they're like, hey, look, Mr. Client, we got you lots of impressions. We got you lots of clicks. We got you lots of leads, right? They're looking at, well, what's the stuff that's cheap where we can get a lot of it for a smaller amount of money because
Mhm.
we're going to assume we're going to get a better return on investment that way. And they're going to go after all that stuff. Neither of those strategies are good. What you need is a strategy to identify what a click is worth and then pay the right price to actually buy it for less than what it's worth. And that's
Mhm.
how you actually make money with PPC.
Hmm.
So, how do you identify what it's worth? If you think to real estate, how do you know what a property is worth?
Yeah.
You use comps. And you're
Hmm.
going to be looking at things like how many square feet is this property? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What zip code is it in? And online, we have similar characteristics that help define a click. There's
Okay.
information like what exactly did they type into Google, like down to the word. By the way, if somebody types into Google, for example, home buyers with an S, it takes 14 of those leads to get a contract. If they type into Google home buyer without an S, it takes 65 of those leads to get a
Oh,
contract, right? So little differences in how this
yeah.
person's actually searching
Mm.
online make a big difference in terms of the actual lead quality. The other things that we're looking at, and Google has a lot of this data, some of it we can't even see. It's stuff like, did this person visit uhaul.com yesterday? That might be indicative of some type of intent. Like, what are their demographics, their age, the
Mhm.
zip code that they live in? Like, all this stuff is stuff that's predictive of, is this
Yeah.
person going to sell their house to me or are they not? So
Mhm.
the game of bidding, it basically comes down to two things. Rule number one, gather massive amounts of data because the more comps you have, the more accurate your predictions become. And then rule number two, make sure the data you're gathering is high quality and you want it to be deep funnel data, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of agencies where they mess up on this is they're just looking at what's generating leads effectively for their clients. When what really matters is what generates opportunities, contracts,
Sure.
deals, revenue for your
Yeah.
clients, right? So if we can get really deep in the funnel at the quality data and at the same time we can have a lot of it,
Mhm.
then we can get really good. We basically have an engine to predict if somebody like based on these different criteria, we can say what is that click worth, and then on an individual per click basis, you're using Google's different bid strategies and stuff like that, feeding them all this data in order to reverse engineer what that click is worth. And it's going to
Right.
go different ways. Sometimes there's going to be situations where everybody else, they're coming into the auction, they're paying a high price, and you're going to look at it and say, well, why didn't I win that bid? It's like, well, because that wasn't the one for you, because everybody else thought that was really valuable, but you had unique data that told you that it's not as valuable as those other people thought it was. And then
Mm.
other times, you're going to be the one that knows this is actually really valuable and it's just
Yeah.
unknown. So we're going to bid really high in those circumstances. And this is how you basically beat the market of PPC. If you have better data, better insight, then what you do is you're more effective at predicting what's actually going to happen. And since you can predict that behavior better, you know exactly how to bid better. And if you can bid right all the time, if you could always bid perfectly in PPC, you would never lose money because it's just like in real estate. If you only
Right.
buy properties for some fraction of what they're worth, it's going to be really, really hard to lose money in real estate.
Wow.
It's
I love it.
That's the game.
So it's not always the highest bidder that wins in PPC. It's the smartest bidder.
Well, if we're looking at an auction,
Yeah.
an individual auction, there's some like asterisks around this. So if anybody's super PPC savvy listening to this, they're going to say that's not right. Like I'm just simplifying. it's
Yeah.
basically it's the highest bidder that wins. But
Okay.
it's okay to lose an auction, because by losing some auctions, that's how you win the game overall, right? Like,
Yeah.
is like you could say in real estate investing, oftentimes it's the highest bidder on a property that wins the property.
Yeah.
But did they really win? Or did
Well,
they
that's
just
what
buy
I'm
a property
saying,
for too
right?
much money?
We
You know?
yeah, yeah, we wanna be bidding on the right things. I don't want
Yeah.
I don't wanna spend a lot of money on a property that just got sold at a tax sale because it doesn't have clear title, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? I wanna bid on the stuff that's been owned for 10 years and doesn't have a lot of title issues. That's gonna be easy for me to sell.
Yep, exactly that kind of stuff. It's just applying that same mindset you're bringing to real estate to
Mhm,
the online marketing world, and it's hard because you have to be data driven. You have to look past like your own ideas. Like,
mhm,
you have to think like, oh, maybe sell my house fast sounds like it'd be a really good keyword, but it's not.
yeah,
And maybe there's some other things that sound like they wouldn't be good keywords, but they're really great. And
yeah,
it's knowing and understanding all those things, having the data with the depth of data to be able to have unique insights that your competition does not have. That's
mhm,
how you essentially win with PPC, because you're making those kind of asymmetric bets against the market where
yeah.
you believe something that they don't, but you're actually right.
I love that. So one of the things, and I know we've gone super long, and I apologize for holding you up, but I'm so fascinated by this, and I know we're going to have you come back. But one of the things that we talk to our clients about is really a lot of what you've said, starting with the end in mind, right? What is the end to us? We want to make sure that we're putting properties under contract that have a high likelihood of a lot of cash buyers, right? Doesn't mean no good to
Mhm.
go to northern Nebraska where it's a pond, a frog, a guppy, a turtle with three legs and an outhouse, right? Like, who am I going to sell that deal to? But yeah, I can get deals there, leads there for $4 a piece all day long, but it's going to take me
Mhm.
2,000 of them to convert one. So, what we always recommend is, hey, let's spend more time in areas where there are a lot of cash buyers. It might cost me a little bit more, but maybe less leads. Kind of tell me how you guys balance that with, trying to get the most number of leads and at the best price, but being in the same
Mhm.
area, or, kind of what is it that you work with your clients and point them in the direction of?
So there's two kind of distinct strategies, and I'll just lay this out. Like, for real estate investors, two distinct strategies. One is the virtual, like, flexible location kind of strategy, which
Mhm,
sounds like a little bit like what you're referring to. The other one is like the dominate a single market strategy.
mhm.
And PPC is pretty popular among that first group, because PPC is a great channel if you're wanting to spread things out geographically.
Mhm.
But
Right.
the model looks different, right? Because why do people do that? It's because as you target more areas with PPC, you bring down your cost per lead. And bringing down your cost per lead, if you all other things stay equal, you essentially increase your return on investment. You're making more money,
Mhm.
right? So that's a good thing. So if you look at the two different strategies, that one has a low cost per lead, but then usually people run into problems like, I can't
Mhm.
sell this property. I didn't actually see this one before I put it under contract, but turns out it's not in the condition the seller said it would be in.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like, you run into all kinds of stuff like that. Versus in the local market system, you're often able to make more money from the properties
Right.
because you're the expert, you're the master in that particular area. You have the absolute best buyers, all that kind of stuff. So the two models are, either you're local, you pay a high cost per lead, and you're really good at making lots of money from those
Right.
leads. Therefore, you have a good return on investment. Or you go with the lower cost per lead, you're wide across many markets, you have more lead flow, but now you run into some of these other snags
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And now you end up usually with still a good return on investment. So
Mhm.
those are both good strategies. I think what you're probably referring to is some people with that virtual strategy, they take it a little bit far. Because
Right.
picture it like this, like I explained, Google works with an auction. Pay per click, each person puts their bid into the auction. Let's just say I'm putting bids into the auction of the same amount everywhere around the United States. And some of those auctions I'm entering are in the heart of Los Angeles. And
Yeah.
some of those auctions I'm entering are in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska.
Right.
Where do you think my bid is more competitive? Where am I more likely to actually win that auction?
Yeah.
In the middle
Nebraska.
of nowhere, Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
So what people do is they target good areas and bad areas.
Mhm.
And in doing so, they're surprised when it's like, I've targeted only 10% of my areas or maybe bad areas, but 90% of my leads are from bad areas. Right. And they point their finger at Google and say, like, you suck, you're giving me bad leads. When all Google's doing is they're actually maximizing the outcome that you told them that you care about, given the constraints. Right. They're
Mhm.
saying, hey, I found the most cheap leads in this particular area. So how do you deal with that? You have to do it through good targeting. One approach that we made relatively popular is it's called satellite imagery targeting. And the
Mhm.
way that satellite imagery targeting works is you basically there's different websites you can go to where you can overlay um, satellite imagery of the Earth at night against Google Maps. And
Yeah.
you can see where are those population centers. Because what we found is the ability to disposition a property correlates really strong with, is it part of that core light map area, or do you have to drive through like 50 miles of farm fields to get to this property?
Right.
Right. And instead of targeting just like counties or something like that, like you take, for example, San Bernardino County in California, you've got like San Bernardino, great, like Inland Empire area,
Mhm.
and you have like the California border with Nevada in the middle of nowhere in the high desert are both in
Mhm.
that county. So where
Yeah.
are you going to get your leads from? Like from the desert. So
That's we
you,
did the same thing. We went to Buffalo, New York, and we picked a county, and 99% of it is farmland that hasn't had a sale in over 2 years. Like, it was terrible.
yeah. So what you want to do is you want to choose markets that, yes, they have the buyer activity you're looking for, and then how you target those markets is you just want to target the parts of those markets that those buyers are interested in. And if you
Mm,
do that whole game right, then you end up with high quality leads in good areas. But the really tricky thing about Google is like you could do 95% of that right, and then have the other 5% that you messed up, and then that 5% could spend 90% of your budget.
mhm.
So you just can't have any leaks in the bucket, basically. So you want to be really, really careful about that. And there's all kinds of different strategies to do that. But yeah, a lot of marketers skew towards like, oh, just do whatever gets you cheaper leads, cheaper leads, cheaper leads. And it's like a sickness. It like creates all these down funnel issues in the
Yeah.
business where now you have more contract fallout and your acquisitions team's burning out, and
Yeah.
you have a hard time with dispo and you have a hard time with TC and all this stuff because you didn't target it right from the beginning. So you do have
Right.
to align all those different parts of the business.
Awesome. Brandon, I can't wait to have you come back on, but where can people find you? What is the like? I know you're putting out a lot of content, you do a lot of stuff. Where is the best? Should people follow you? And I know you guys will do free audits on accounts. I would love to hear some wild stories of what you see when you go into some of these accounts. But where's the best people for place for people to get a hold of you and kind of track you down?
So we'll throw a link here. Like you mentioned, we could do a free audit
Yeah.
if you're already running PPC. If you're interested in PPC, we could look into your market, whatever that stuff is. So yeah,
Yeah.
feel free to reach out with that link. You can also go to our website, and that's where to find a lot of content. Like for example, we just did recently a 12-week live PPC training course for people who do want to understand it on a more deep level, including many of our clients that pay us to do it, but they just don't want it to be a black box. It's the number one feedback we get about PPC is it feels like a black box. So we
Yeah.
make every effort we can to just get as much information out there so people can learn and understand it.
Mhm.
So yeah, feel free to for that kind of content, you can go to our podcast. It's just
Yeah.
podcast.batemancollective.com.
Love it. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of entrepreneurs are like, I just have to know, I need to know, I need to be in control. I'm like, dude, you just need to do the thing you're great at and hire somebody who's amazing at, in this case, in doing PPC. I think we might have clicked off for 1 second. Where like what are the best, so can they follow you on social media?
Yeah. You can feel free to like Brandon Bateman on Facebook. You can just friend me personally, or we have our page Bateman Collective on
Awesome.
Instagram and Facebook as well. So yeah, you can find us there if you want to as well.
Awesome. We'll throw all of that in the notes. But guys, listen, Brandon gave you the exact playbook that the very top acquisitions teams are using to turn clicks into contracts. He's not guessing. He's literally running millions of dollars in ad spend all across the country and seeing what actually works. And just even beyond the clicks, right? And the leads, he's going to help you with landing pages and the bidding and that whole back end process to make sure that you are having the absolute most success. So, if you want inbound leads without burning cash, go follow Brandon and his team at Bateman Collective. They are the ones doing this at such a very high level. Like I said, we will put all of his links down below. And hey, listen, if this episode helped you, right? Do all the things like share, follow, drop a comment, and put drop PPC down there. And I'll make sure that we bring Brandon back for a deeper dive. Guys, this is the Closers Club where real investors come to win. I will see you on the next one.